Super Rugby Aotearoa round number 6 coming at you from a cloudy, dark, wet and pretty miserable Auckland as we get ready for the Easter break. Crusaders and Highlanders is the first game in the Aotearoa weekend. Friday, 7 o'clock over here in New Zealand. Crusaders and Highlanders. The Crusaders are high flying. They're 4 from 4, including a pretty impressive away win over my Blues. I'm still getting over that one. The fact that the Blues, who maybe I was a little bit one-eyed, I thought might actually fire a shot against the Crusaders, especially at Eden Park, were unable to get it done. The Crusaders are just looking the business. Situation normal. The Crusaders are very, very good. And the Highlanders, you've heard about the party at Tony Brown's place. Apparently it's the party at Josh Ioane's place that has added to their disruptions, as if it's not hard enough to go to Christchurch and pick up a win. They've got, I think, 4 or 5 players out, just unavailable for selection because they broke team protocols. There's not really much in terms of the information. They said they're keeping it pretty in-house, but by all accounts there's rumours that it was a alcohol-related party at Josh Ioane's place, but again, there's no firm comment on that. That's just what the media is speculating on over here. So yeah, we'll go through the teams, some of the odds, some of the stats, and you guys can let me know your thoughts on how this one is going to go. They have met, obviously. This season's just kicking off its second leg. Opening round was the game in Dunedin. Crusaders pretty comfortably 26-13 winners. And that was at home for the Highlanders. Now they got to go away. So it's looking like a pretty tall order. And the Crusaders lineup is pretty stable. They do have George Bridge returning after a really long injury layoff. He's on the right wing for this one. So it means Sever Reese has dropped down to the bench. Whaingonuku retains his spot on that left wing with Will Jordan at fullback. So it's a very powerful, fast and dangerous looking back three. Havili, it's David and Jack Goodhue retain their spots in the midfield, so 2 All Blacks there. Mo'unga is partnered by Drummond this time. They continue to rotate Drummond and Hall, seemingly depending on their opponents. When they played the Blues a fortnight ago, remember the Crusaders are coming off the bye. They played Hall, this time it's Drummond. Callum Grace, Sione Havili and Ethan Blackadder is the same back row. Sam Whitelock and Scott Barrett as captain. Same second row, All Black second row pairing, and Michael Alatoa. Cody Taylor and Joe Moody have been very strong at scrum time. The Blues initially in that game fired a couple of shots at the Crusaders front row, but it didn't take the Crusaders too long to kind of fire some shots back and maybe even get in the ascendancy. For the Highlanders, like I mentioned, it's pretty disrupted with the likes of Josh Ioane, Mikaeli Tu'u, Seal Tompkinson, Dan Leonard-Brown. Like all these guys, I think there's more. All these guys are out due to the breaching of team protocols. So it sees a wee bit of unfamiliar, or at least guys moving around a wee bit lineup. Same front row with De Groot, Dixon and Tokolahi. Bryn Evans and Pari Parkinson are still there in the second row. So the tight 5 is unchanged. And then Frizzell and Harmon are 6 and 7. Jimeno comes in at number 8. He's maybe the beneficiary of Marino Mikaeli Tu'u being out for this week, and it's going to be great to see him start because I did think he added a bit of impact from the bench. I'm trying not to be too fanboy because everyone gets excited about Jimeno. You know, he's a great Japanese international, had a fantastic World Cup, but I think objectively he had a pretty good game, added some real punch and was a threat at the breakdown. Fakatava gets a start at number 9, so Aaron Smith drops to the bench, and maybe that's a good thing as well because Fakatava from the bench has really been able to add a bit of speed to the game. You'll need that against the Crusaders. Quick ball, man. Otherwise, the Crusaders' defense is just going to get set and lap up all the punishment you can try and deal on them. Him and Hunt's 9-10. Umanga Jensen moves from the bench to start at 12. Michael Collins is still there at 13. Nadek is back fit. He's on the left wing. Scott Gregory's into the 23. And he's on the right wing. And Connor Garden-Basham shifts position from wing to have the 15 jersey on his back. So yeah, they've got a couple of loosies on the bench in Lynchus and Renton. They got Aaron Smith and Caleb Makinu come in. Coltman Johnston, Josh Honeck and Josh Dixon are all there as well. So they're looking to add a bit of extra punch with some forwards from the bench. But, I mean, you look at the Crusaders bench, you got Bryn Hall, as I mentioned, you got Sevu Reece, Fetu Douglas can't even get a start, Ollie Jaeger's there, George Bauer. Yeah. She's Mitchell Dunshea. Pretty strong looking lineup either way you slice it. When you look at the stats of the two teams, the Crusaders numbers are pretty good, man. Their set piece is huge. Their line out and scrummaging numbers are phenomenal. Their attacking numbers, like in terms of the number of clean breaks they're able to create, is phenomenal. They do concede a fair few penalties, and I said that before the Blues game as well, that their goal kicking was maybe a wee bit lacking, and then that they'd been conceding too many penalties in terms of their discipline, but they didn't show a mark of that at all in their game against the Blues. The goal kicking was phenomenal, and I think it was the Blues that conceded more penalties. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I get that feeling. The Highlanders, their defensive numbers are not pretty, which if you combine that with the fact that the Crusaders are able to generate such good attack, does not make for optimistic reading for the men from the Deep South. Their scrum numbers are also not great, which is not pretty reading when you know they're going up against that all-international Crusaders front row. But their discipline's a bit better, so maybe they won't be getting the Crusaders kicking the ball for 5 metres lineouts and whatnot. But yeah, the bookies are not giving the Highlanders much of a chance in this one. 19 points is what the bookies have got the Crusaders winning it by, and Rugby Forecast algorithm goes one more and says the Crusaders are going to win it by 20. So yeah, could be a fairly long night at the office. If you guys know me, you know I'm not one who's really all that fond of watching blowouts, so I hope it's not a blowout, but even me as a staunch Blues man can appreciate something about that well-oiled machine, which is the Crusaders. I hope the Highlanders can fire a few shots. If there's a team they're going to be wanting to fire some shots at, it's the Crusaders. They have been beaten at home in 2020, so maybe the Highlanders can take some inspiration of that. Maybe it's one of those situations where the adversity in camp actually fires up the guys who are playing. I don't know. We'll see. Tony Brown will certainly be disappointed, and they are 5th. So, yeah, there's not that many games left in the season. They're going to need to start making a move. Probably a bit too much to ask them to go into Christchurch and get a win, but that's the job. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. You guys let me know your thoughts, and yeah, I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.